All right, welcome to CU Talks, the voice of the Conservative Union. Conversation with real people from real places in America, not DC and not the media. My name is Leslie, and I'm here with Antonio. Nikos will be with us momentarily. He's just stepped out for a moment. And we're here to bring you our thoughts on current events with a conservative and optimistic spin. Today, we're going to be talking about foreign policy, Israel. Why does America keep dissing Israel? And I don't mean America, I mean our Obama administration. Um, John Kerry keeps dissing Israel specifically, and then he has to apologize for it. And the question is he better or worse than Hillary? And then we go to Hillary's foreign policy and Benghazi, and there's a bunch of, I mean, that thing has really hit the fan in the last 2 days. So that's been a pretty big topic. So mostly we're kind of dealing with a big pack of lies and deceptions, but for the optimistic part that we'll probably get to, right at the end when we're running over time, is that I think we're beginning to get the truth about Benghazi finally, and we're finally beginning to get some news outlets beyond just Fox Media, beyond just Fox News, that are really asking questions and starting to doubt and push back against the administration's talking points and do the things that a media should have been doing. I don't know, for the last 6 years. So, I'm going to be optimistic that I think we're finally maybe getting somewhere on some of this. Not that it's going to fix any of our foreign policy disasters or our relationships with any foreign nations. I think that's just, I don't know, baked into the cake, and the best we can do is survive the next couple of years. But all I can hope for now is that the American people are beginning to figure out what's going wrong and in what ways it's going wrong, and then maybe figure out a different way to approach looking at presidential candidates, perhaps in 2016. And maybe there's going to be some stuff that we'll be able to change if in November we can pick up a bunch of Senate seats and have a stronger House and a stronger Senate. Maybe there's some things we can do policy-wise for foreign relations, but I don't expect a whole lot. All I can hope for it over the next couple of years is that we'll get to the truth on things.
It's
And,
going to be
and
very difficult to do
yeah, it
that.
is. Yeah, it is.
I remember in the last elections, I believe it was Colonel Alan West that had a really honest discussion, and he turned around and said, "Well, you guys think that whatever the politicians tell you, it's right, and they're going to do it. I'm not saying that they're not going to do what they say. For instance, let's take the primaries when almost everybody was saying, well, I'm going to dissolve the Department of Education. We don't need it. We have to pass this on with the states. Fine, I do agree that I have honest intentions and they're going to do what they're saying. But there's a little bit of a logistics nightmare over there. You're going to have lawsuits from people because they're losing their jobs. You need to take all that bureaucracy out of the federal government and put it into the states, and that's not going to be done within one day. Right? It's a fallacy for people to believe that things can change very quickly. I can
Right.
give you the example that I gave some podcasts ago with Greece. What happened was you had 4 years the socialists, and then another 4 years the socialists, and then they knew that they were going to lose the election. They knew it. All right. So what they did is they did two things. First of all, they changed the electoral law because they had the majority, and they said that the party that will win needs to have 48% of the vote, and that is an impossibility. All right, the parties were 46 to 45 or something like that. So in order for the Republicans, so to speak, to win after those 8 years, they had to perform, and after 3 elections back to back, in 3 months, they had to form a coalition with the Communist Party in order to get the votes and to do that and then change the electoral law. In the meantime, what they had done, the socialists had done, is they stacked the government with all sorts of employees. I've said this before. There was a time that people would not have chairs to sit. I mean, you would go to, let's say, the post office, and the post office would usually be run, let's say, by 10 people. You would see 25 there, and they wouldn't even have chairs to sit. So what they did is ingenuity, Greek ingenuity, bow to us. They created they created this revolving role where I would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you would work Thursday, Friday, Monday, and then I would work. So they were getting paid for a full week, and they were working 3 days because there were not chairs in for people to sit. So the more people you have in the government, the more of this bureaucracy, the more dependency you have, the more people are going to vote for you, the more difficult it is to get rid of that dependency. What are you going to do? How are you going to fire them? People are going to be out, in arms.
That's true.
Look at Obamacare. Look at Obamacare. We are exactly where we were before Obamacare was introduced because you have, and I'm using some data that is, let's say, a couple of weeks back. You have 7 million people that enrolled, but you also have 7 million people that lost their coverage. So we're pretty much where we were, right? What's the biggest difference after all this blah, 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 and all the time that we spent talking about Obamacare and other people and the epic battles that we have on the internet? We have 14,000 more government employees. That's what we have. 14,000 government employees. That's the real. Yeah, that's the real cost of Obamacare. I mean, if you think about it, let's say you give them $50,000 each, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna end up with an extra $700 million per year as an added expense that you, I, and everybody else that's listening will have to pay for. These are fellow Americans. Yeah, they have a job, but they're working for the government. That's the problem right there. And I'm not saying that working for the government is necessarily a problem, but they're extra people that we didn't need to have. And those 14,000 people are now going to vote for the hand that feeds them. And this is how it goes on. This is not something new. You look at Saul Alinsky's principles, you will see a hell of a lot of correlation with what is going on right now. You look at Greece in 1980, 1990, and 2000. You're going to see exactly the same things that happened back then are happening here. The progressivism and this whole feel for your fellow man, and we have to work for the collective good, and we need to help our fellow man. All this is basically oxidosis, is it? Well, I know the Greek word, but it's when it's when water goes on top of the steel and oxygen on top of iron rather, and oxygen starts interacting with it, and then you have rust.
Rust.
And the more rust you
Oxidation.
have, oxidation. That's the one. And the more rust you have, the more the structure crumbles, and that's where we're at right now. Slowly and slowly and slowly, the fascist agenda. Yeah, I'm gonna call it a fascist agenda because that's what it is. Has managed to poison our kids. Department of Education have poisoned the people of this country. So many dependencies. It's not even funny. Welfare programs that were supposed to help our fellow Americans in need. Now they're helping the ones that are lazy, and they're just sitting on their butts doing nothing. And then we have to pay for it. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we're way off topic from.
No,
From what
I
we're
understand
supposed to
we're way off topic, but it proves a point. It proves that this is a deliberate effort to keep the U.S. citizens uninformed with half-truths here and there. I mean, look at yesterday, right, where Jay Carney had this exchange with, who was it? Somebody from ABC, I believe.
Yeah, that's the Benghazi stuff.
Was it Matt Lee?
With John Carl. Yeah.
And this is the lies and the spins and all that stuff, and all this exists and existed in Greece back then. When you have uh, when you have Judicial Watch suing the government under the Freedom of Information Act in order to get documents that we were supposed to have without the lawsuit, okay, and the request and the lawsuit is granted for documents pertaining to Benghazi, nothing else, right? And then you get this letter that comes out, and this letter specifically states that the CIA had no involvement whatsoever with the talking points and all that stuff. And Jay Carney has the nerve to turn around and say, well, it did have something to do with it. Susan Rice went out with the best information that we had, and we took that from the CIA. And you have the director of CIA at the time saying that, no, we never issued anything. So they're lying. They're lying, and people are not enraged. The great thing, though, is that we're looking at ABC asking the question. It's not only Fox News. So people started paying more and more attention. It took them a couple of years, but they are paying attention. Thank God.
And that's where I was getting. That's the optimistic kind of end that I was beginning to find on both the Israel and the Benghazi stories, is that working our way through the facts of the stories, we do eventually get to the point where we are starting to see some of the other media outlets pick up on it and push back. And today's been a rather outstanding day with Benghazi, and you've already started talking Benghazi, so we can talk about that one first. And like you said, the Judicial Watch filed FOIA requests to get all the documents, and they filed them 2 years ago, shortly after the September 11, 2012 event, which was, as we remember, the important thing to remember about Benghazi is it was 7 weeks prior to a presidential election where the guy was fighting to be reelected, and his primary success was that Al-Qaeda was on the run. And if Benghazi was in fact a terrorist attack that we were woefully unprepared for, then it's a lot harder for Obama to make his case that we stay the course and that we don't go with Mitt Romney and the Republicans, who are much better on foreign policy. So he and the White House were quite desperate to make sure that they still looked very strong and that this wasn't a terrorist attack. They were really desperate for there not to be an opportunity for Republicans to say, look, you deny that terrorism exists, you screwed up this whole Libya thing, you're fooling yourself about Al-Qaeda, you're unprepared to handle this, and you're unprepared to protect our people, and you in fact got an ambassador killed, the first ambassador that was killed since the 70s because of your foreign policy failure and your failure to understand and handle Al-Qaeda and terrorism. Had the Republicans been able to use that message, Obama might not have gotten reelected. So they were desperate to make that, to really make sure that story didn't get out, and so they came out with the first weekend after Susan Rice made her rounds on all the news shows, saying that it was, blaming it on this stupid anti-Islam video. And then we remember that the filmmaker was arrested, and he was in jail. He was in jail for like a year. They arrested him on parole violations or probation violations, which historically they had never done that. And so it was very clear that the federal government got in touch with the state and the county and said, what excuse can you find to give us the photo op of perp walking this guy and locking him up so that we can comfort the American people that we have really done something to save them from the evil guy that caused this whole Benghazi thing. And remember that Hillary, in standing by the caskets of those 4 dead, told the families of the dead that she was determined to do what was necessary to get the guy who had made the video. So she was over the bodies of these dead individuals telling the family that it was that the cause of their death was protests over this video. They knew, and we've now found through testimony after testimony, because the House and the Senate have had multiple different investigations, and what's the
Still not
word?
had a special investigation yet.
Right. There's not been a call for a special investigation, but there's been enough testimony that we know that the CIA had told the White House within hours that this was a planned Al-Qaeda attack. They knew. And over in the intervening time, Jay Carney, the spokesman for the White House, has said repeatedly to the reporters who would ask that the talking points that they gave to Susan Rice to go out and blame it on a video, that was talking points they got from the CIA and the intelligence community. They were absolutely throwing the CIA and the intelligence community under the bus, saying, we got bad intelligence, we said what we thought, which was probably a video, and Susan blamed it on a video, and then as soon as we knew, we told the public that it was terrorism. And it's all been just a complete pack of lies. And what happened was a memo was released finally just recently. Judicial Watch filed to get all of the Benghazi memos. They received a big stack of stuff that was, quote unquote, all the Benghazi memos quite some time ago. They continued filing requests, apparently, and so then this thing just finally showed up. So what we have is lie number one. This memo was hidden in the first release of documents. They never.
It was redacted.
Right, and it was super redacted. So what was released was the unredacted version, and it is a memo from Ben Rhodes, who is the brother of the news director at CBS, by the way. So CBS News director's brother is Ben Rhodes, the guy who is the spokesperson for the White House, and he's the one who wrote these talking points that said we need to have Susan Rice talk about it as if it's a video, as if it was the video, because we don't want it to look bad we don't want any blowback on the White House that it was terrorism. That was basically what they said. And so then, that's pretty much a bombshell. And what was really cool was yesterday at Jay Carney's presser, as Nikos was already saying, ABC John Carl, not Fox News, but ABC John Carl started asking Jay Carney about the memo. And Jay Carney did his, it's not about Benghazi, and it's not this. I mean, just lying to his face. And John Carl really did push back, really pushed back, and it was really a thing of beauty. And then today, Jay Carney, in his briefing, he got questioned by Ed Henry, who's the Fox News guy, and Carney continued to deny that it was about Benghazi, continues to deny that it's anything important whatsoever. And there's just the continued denials of the truth, continued denials of the importance, what does it really matter? And then...
What difference does it make?
Exactly. Exactly.
At this point.
And then today, on Brett Baer's show at 5 o'clock, he got a guy on who was, at the time, 2 years ago, who was the National Security Council spokesman. And this guy, he looks 12, and he acts like callous, arrogant, disdainful. I mean, this guy was a complete jerk. But when Brett Baer was asking him about the memo, because, still trying to figure out who it was that changed the memo from being about an attack to being about a protest or a demonstration, and it wasn't the CIA that was saying it was demonstrations about a video. The CIA had always said this was an attack. It was the White House, which, by the way, that memo proves the lie of everything that Jay Carney's been saying for the last 2 years. That's why this is such a big deal. Because Jay and the White House have been blaming the CIA for the talking points that said it was a video. And the CIA had been testifying, no, it really wasn't us. And now we have the memo that proves the CIA was right all along. It wasn't them, and the White House has been lying all along.
Why
And
would the CIA lie? What motive would they have?
Well, CIA
exactly,
is
and it was their
CIA.
guys
They
that were being.
lie.
It was their guys that were being shot.
Well,
They
think
knew they
about
were
it.
on the ground. It's their people.
Think about it. The mentality is, what do we think about CIA when we actually think about CIA? They, a
Well, they're
bunch of
liars.
liars, covert operations, and all that stuff. So it's very plausible that people would believe that the CIA is lying versus the government, the White House.
But
So
if you
it's a good spin. I
well,
mean, you have to give it
actually,
to them.
but then you put some math and some real logic to it. And if you say, okay, the CIA is going to make up a story, if they were going to make up a story, they would be more likely to make up a story that it's Al Qaeda. Because if Al Qaeda is still a major threat, we are going to continue funding the CIA. And we are going to continue thinking that they're very important and they're going to stay very important and have important jobs. If the CIA were to promote the story that it was just a demonstration about a video gone wrong, then we don't need the CIA. So if the CIA had said that, that would run counter to their own self-interest.
That's a
So
good point.
it's not likely at all that the CIA was going to lie and say that it was a video, because that is absolutely against their self-interest. And they, in fact, did not do that. It was the White House that did it. The White House lied in their self-interest, which makes far more sense,
Right.
because the White House benefits from it being a video. The White House benefits in this election that they then proceeded to win. So if you look at who has reason to lie and what are they going to lie about, what tracks is that the White House lied about it being a video, because the CIA is not going to lie about it being a video, because that's actually opposite to their interests. Their interests were the truth, that it was the Al Qaeda, although that's actually kind of bad on them because that means they screwed up. But their people died as well, so they have, they really just need to get to the truth so that that doesn't happen again. They're really the aggrieved party here. Because they had been asking for help and asking for cover and asking for additional resources and explaining what the problem was, and they were denied.
Wasn't that found in a journal by a CNN reporter?
Yes, no, not CNN. She was a CBS reporter, Cheryl
Okay.
Atkinson. Cheryl Atkinson, she lost her job at CBS, partly because she continued to report on Benghazi. And remember, CBS is run by David Barnes, who is the brother of Ben Barnes or Ken Barnes or whatever his name is, Ted Barnes, Joe Bob Barnes. The CBS guy is the brother of the author of this memo. And so Cheryl Atkinson, working for CBS and continuing to dig, was going to ultimately find out that the brother of her boss was the guy who wrote this memo that had the lie in it. And this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of cover-up, and then the denials of the cover-up and these lies, and I'm certain that we're going to find that there are people who lied under oath. And this is the kind of thing that puts people in jail. And it should. And we always should have had people going to jail for this. And the absolute schmuck that was on Fox News today with Bret Baier, he was a spokesman for the National Security Council that night, at the time, and he was partly responsible for the memos. And Bret Baier was asking him, "Are you the one who changed it from attack to demonstration?" Because there was a word that was changed from the where the CIA had written it, where because of these attacks, blah blah blah. What ended up was because of these demonstrations, and changing the word from attack to demonstration was absolutely the key, because attack means it's a coordinated terrorist attack. Demonstration means that it was a protest about a video. So changing that one word from attack to demonstration was really the key that enabled the deception. And this schmuck sat there when Bret Baier asked him.
Tell us how you feel.
Oh my God,
Leslie?
I have such a hard time not cussing about this, because this guy, you have to see this video of this jerk. He actually
Apology
looked at he
from.
actually looked at Brett and said, "Dude, that was 2 years ago. I don't remember. That was it's just a word on a memo. Dude, that was 2 years ago. Why is it such a
To
big
use
deal?
to use
Dude,
my favorite phrase, what
what
difference that
difference
this
does it
voice
make?"
doesn't make?
The disdain throughout this entire administration for this
Uh,
event, and we see it still to this day. I mean, the talking points are, very clear that being, disregarding Brett Baier and the Fox News people and their obsession about Benghazi is absolutely the appropriate thing. We really need to be focused on whatever it is they think they need to focus on, jobs or something. So I
yeah,
mean,
because they changed not the talking point, they changed the focus, not
mhm,
on, hey, what happened with Benghazi, to, oh, there you go, Fox is
it's
causing
Fox
trouble
News.
again.
And we see it
It's
on
Fox
the
News.
stories that I've shared on Google Plus today. There's been at least one leftist commenter coming through. It's like Soros sent them out. Go search for Benghazi stories and start, making fun of them for Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi. I mean, just the absolute disdain that these people have. They don't even care that
Mhm.
50 some people were desperately injured, and we still don't know who they are because they were CIA operatives, and not even Congress has been able to interview them. 4 people died, one of whom was an ambassador, one of whom, the ambassador that Hillary claims was her friend, and she was the Secretary of State. She was directly responsible for these individuals, and she's
So,
the woman who wants to be our next president.
so
This is hugely important.
if Hillary becomes our next president, then nobody should turn around and say that they want to be her friend,
Right, because her friends
because
die.
well, history tells us. I mean, she might tell you what difference does it make at this point, but hey, you better be careful. One of the things that I was listening to on Mark Levin while I was stuck in traffic for over 2 hours because of an accident, sadly.
Oh boy.
Luckily, nobody was hurt, but it was a
Oh,
nasty
that's
accident.
good.
Um, he played a clip from a gentleman that was with the CIA. I do not recall the name, but the main the summary of what the gentleman turned around and said, and he articulated the point perfectly. I mean, we're talking about not even a slither of question as to what he was saying. It was boom, there you go. Basically, he said, uh, if you're questioning whether we should, we didn't have enough time to go there, whether we wouldn't have had enough time to fly there, whether we had whether it was too late and all that stuff. Those are not the points. You should never think about that. We didn't know how long this will take. All right, the minute we heard about this, we should have sent help. It's as if you have a fire department and they hear that there's a fire in Nikos's house, knock on wood. They don't sit around and say, all right, how many trucks do we have? Let's see. Yes. How many people? They don't think about that. They just send the trucks out
Yeah.
quickly. Now, if the house has already been burned, fine. At least you tried.
Right.
We didn't even give those 4 Americans that luxury, that
Right.
at least their country tried to help them. And it all falls down to political decisions. So you have to ask yourself, if somebody is willing to sell you out, you as an American, because of political gain. Let's see, it was the next month was the elections, and Al Qaeda was dead. So let's not stir up anything. Uh, uh, Ambitions of 2016 from Mrs. Clinton. Well, what difference at this point does it make that 4 Americans are dead?
Right.
If these people are willing to sell you and throw you under the bus, then why should you actually trust them? Why should you even dare think about supporting these people? If you don't want to support somebody who's conservative, fair enough, but do not support those liars.
Not these
The
people. These people
I
are
was
awful.
listening
I agree.
to the CD that I got the day before yesterday. It's basically the test that you take to become a U.S. citizen, and one of the interesting things that was said, that is as a question there and an answer, of course, it says, what are the powers of the federal government? And one of them, of course, is to declare war, to uh, to get people in the army, to create an army and all that stuff. But it also notes that what are the responsibilities of the federal government, and also it brings it to the state, and the answer is to keep people safe.
Right.
That's one of the highest responsibilities, and this isn't, bear in mind, this is not me saying it. This is
The federal
uh,
government saying it.
a
Yeah.
document from the federal government that comes in. Now, it did piss me off a little bit because it used the word democracy
Oh,
in
right.
there,
And you're like,
and
we're in a republic. I know it.
if
Yeah.
somebody asks me that question, I'm going to tell them I cannot answer this question because it's inaccurate. And if they ask me, I'm going to tell them it's a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. So your CD is wrong. So anyway,
Yeah.
uh, so you have official documentation that I received, and I'm pretty sure others that have been in the same shoes as I am right now, that state that the government is there to protect the people of this country. So the
Mhm.
question has to be asked, what happened to those 4 guys down
Well,
there?
and even more, the embassy, and since the embassy in Tripoli was, I guess, closed or whatever, and they were at the temporary place in Benghazi, the consulate in Benghazi, that is American soil.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
When the
Yeah.
ambassador is there, it's designated as American soil. So
That's an act of war.
we have, yeah, and so any of the political questions about, well, do we dare create an international incident by
Oh hell yeah, we
sending a
do.
plane full of helicopters to go into a foreign nation? Well, this is Libya, where we had just been engaged, and this was our embassy, so we're obligated and permitted to defend our embassy. That's part of the rules of us having an embassy in any country, and any country having an embassy in our land. They're allowed to defend it because that is their sovereign territory.
Right.
So we
Mhm.
would be allowed to do it. Besides which, you ask for forgiveness, not permission. That is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely a situation where
Right.
you ask forgiveness, not permission. And the other thing that happened today was it was in the House. It was a House committee interviewing um, the general who was in charge of, I guess, the intelligence for the African Command, General Lowell or Lovell. I think it was Lovell maybe. And Jason Chaffetz interviewed him, and you'll see clips of the whole thing. And the best is actually on Breitbart, and it's not a clip; it's the whole 10-minute deal with Jason Chaffetz. And Chaffetz gets very angry in asking this man questions, and the general is very composed and very reserved, but there are some very long silences in there, and you can tell that it's because the general is trying desperately not to cry. They are because Jason Chaffetz is asking him on that night, when did you know that it was terrorists? And the answer is immediately. And what were you doing, and what were you told to do, and do you think we could have um, had a different outcome had things been different? And the army guy, the general, was saying that we had he was in charge of the resources that were wherever they were. I don't even know. I think he was in Germany at the time, and he was watching, and he was aware, and he was talking and listening, and knew what was going on. And it, there never came a call for them to go help. And he said we were waiting for the State Department to figure out or to determine the political ramifications or figure out what they wanted us to do. And there at the end, Chaffetz asked him, do you think that if you had been able to go and even try to help, even knowing now the outcome of things or the amount of the duration of the battle, even knowing now how much time you actually had to get there and make a difference, do you think you could have made a difference? And this was where there was a really long silence, where the general was trying to collect himself, and he said, well, I suppose so, but we'll never know. And there was a long silence. We didn't try. And that those 3 words, we didn't try.
And that is
We
gonna
never tried. My God.
That's horrible.
It's gonna kill people. It's gonna haunt them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exactly what I said before. The fire brigade or the fire engines, the fire department just runs towards your house. If the house is no longer here, at least you tried.
Right.
And that's where
it's what that gentleman was saying. It doesn't really matter whether we had enough time to go there. We didn't know how long this will take.
Oh, exactly.
We didn't go. That was the point.
Those Marines fought for over 8 hours.
Exactly.
And you're in the Army. Your training is that when you hear gunfire, you run towards it, and that's what
exactly.
I didn't see this guy's opening statement, but running towards the guns was in his opening statement, because Chaffetz used that a couple of times in his questioning about, were you able to run towards the guns? Who was running towards the guns? Was anybody on their way to help? Was anybody trying to help? Was anybody doing anything? And then and so I saw that, and I'm a girl, I cry. It's okay for me to cry. I watched that, and I wasn't like, I was in the privacy of my own home, so I'm watching this video, and I'm watching this, and anytime I see a soldier, or anytime I see a guy choked up about something, it makes me cry, because you can tell that there's so much emotion there in the guy, and he's holding it back, and I'm just bawling, because I'm thinking through all of this and what has got to be going on in the mind of this Army, this great general who has at his disposal the most powerful weapons of war that the world has ever seen. He's in charge of, he can put so much power in places immediately. He's been training all of his life, and what he does for a living is keep an army in a state of preparedness to go help in these situations. And for him to have to sit there and say, we'll never know, we never tried, that's just devastating. And then later in the day, jerkwad schmuckface, and I realize that in Yiddish that is probably, I believe that is a really bad term, and so it probably violates our profanity filters, but it's in Yiddish, so it's okay.
Tell us how you feel, Leslie.
But that guy who was being interviewed on Brett Baer, one of the other most astounding things he said was, Brett was asking him who was in the Situation Room, and this little twerp was in the Situation Room, and he was talking about, this was going on and that was going on, and we saw and we didn't know, and Brett asked him, and where was the president? And you've got to listen to the questioning to believe the disdain that this guy has for even the question, but Barack Obama was never, ever in the Situation Room that whole night. He never bothered. He was at the White House. He was in the residence. He didn't walk down the hall to go to the Situation Room. Never.
Did he have a golf game previous or after?
He did leave the next day to go to California for a fundraiser.
Wasn't it Las Vegas?
Okay, maybe it was Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Yeah, but we've got confirmation now of what most of us suspected, that Barack Obama didn't even give a crap enough to just go to the Situation Room and say, hey, what's going on? Anything I can do? What's happening? I understand that there's an ambassador missing.
Yeah, you would think he would be in there because it is an act of war. If
Yeah,
he's supposed to be the leader of the army, he needs to
yeah.
be in there when there's a possible act of war going on.
They didn't understand the depth of this at all. These people don't even have a clue what they're doing. They don't even understand. They're running a country and they are without clue. It just
I would
really
say
pisses me off.
I would hope that you're right. The scary scenario is that they understood exactly what is going on,
And they
and
didn't care.
because of the political profit or loss for that matter, because let's remember we did have an election within a month after that, they decided to play it safe and start the distraction mechanism.
Oh my God,
And
that's just
the
too
media
heinous
and the
to even
media fell
consider.
for it. The media
The media
followed it.
aid and helped them.
Yeah.
Well, and they still are. And the leftist sycophants are already saying, well, what did you expect him to do? I mean, why would he bother going to the Situation Room? And these are the same
Wow.
people. These are the same people who will still say that George Bush was a crappy president because he didn't get up and run screaming with Kermit arms waving in the air and continued reading My Little Pony to the school children on 9/11. These same people will say that George Bush was obviously clueless and didn't know what was going on because he chose to not scare little children on September 11th. These same
Yeah.
people will tell you that Barack Obama didn't need to be in the Situation Room on the 11 years later.
Well,
Wow.
think about it. George Bush was gonna be at fault all the time
Sure.
because
I'm sure George Bush is at fault for
first of
Benghazi.
all, if he
Ah,
was sitting there, he sat there like a schmuck and all that stuff. If he got up, oh, he scared the
Scared
kids,
the children, yeah.
right?
ah. Yeah.
But that one My Little Pony incident, and I don't know if it was My Little Pony, whatever the story was. Um,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
you
about.
know what I'm talking about? And most of us have seen that video of, he knew that he knew before he went in that the first plane had hit, and he thought what we all thought, which was, oh my gosh, a horrible aviation accident. And so he's reading the story to the children, and his aide comes in and whispers in his ear that another plane has hit the other tower. We are under attack. And you saw the and when something like that happens, that's where you don't see the calculated politician. You see the human instinct and what the person really is made of, because he doesn't
Hmm.
have time to think and plan and figure out. It's just absolutely how he reacts to something,
Yep.
and he absolutely reacted beautifully. He took a deep breath. He said he whispered what he needed to say. He turned back to the children, he continued on, and he left as soon as he possibly could. But he knew that there wasn't anything that he could do towards the situation in the next 5 minutes, and
Hmm.
that his instinct told him to remain calm, to project calm, to project a sense that everything was being handled and that it was being taken care of. I mean, that was just, in that moment, what you saw of what George W. Bush is. That's actually my favorite moment of his presidency, because it was really, really beautiful how he immediately reacted. And what we have now is so totally
Opposite.
different. Oh my God, so different. And
Hmm.
and that, our current Secretary of State, John Kerry, was the previous presidential candidate against George W. Bush. Then we have Barack Obama, and then we have Hillary Clinton, the next presidential candidate. And the three of them together are such stark raving idiots. I can't even believe that that's the best and brightest that the Democrat Party has to offer. I mean,
Hmm.
I would think they would have somebody much more wiser. But we're dealing with the left here. They're more emotional based.
Well, and their other top people are Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi. I mean, what? Where's the beef on the Democrat side? I mean, there's no substance there.
Well, I'll give you a different example. All right. Where is JFK?
Good Lord, no kidding.
Right? Where is JFK?
The substance in that. I disagreed with him on a lot of things, but
example for the Democratic Party. The shining example. He was a president for all people.
Yes, he was.
All right. He got us out of an extremely difficult situation, Cuban crisis.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He didn't back down. He had a huge spine. And, you know, sadly, we don't have him here. We don't know what he would have done more, but the amount of time that he spent in this earth as a president, he actually proved to people that, you know what, this is how it's done.
Obama's just such a small man.
Well, it's not that Obama is such a small man. I'm comparing him again towards JFK.
Yeah.
The difference here, the startling difference is that Obama turns around and says, "See what your government can do for you," versus JFK was saying, "Tell me what you can do for your country." And that is a huge difference. That right there is the dependency mentality versus the, all right, I'm going to give you the tools, I'm going to help you evolve as a person. And all of us, if we do that, we're going to make sure that, you know, we win. It's a win for everybody. If you manage to, you know, as my friend Joe Biden would say, unchain the slaves or whatever in that famous speech that he said.
So I've heard it, but I don't know it verbatim.
Your brain is gonna bleed if you actually start hearing Joe Biden. You know, everybody rise up for whatever his name is. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize he's on a wheelchair.
Yeah, here's my buddy Bob. Stand up, Bob. Let the people see you, Bob. Oh yeah, sorry, that's right.
Or when he tells,
isn't he the one who called Barack Obama clean and articulate?
Yes, clean and articulate, a black man.
That's not offensive.
No, not really.
Well, I don't know. Antonio's clean. You're clean.
He's also articulate.
Clean, so you're articulate. That's a storybook, man.
There you go, Antonio.
I just gotta learn how to read a teleprompter.
There you go. Nice. There you go.
Oh, smack. There you go.
Zing.
Yeah, something like that. It is laughable to even try to bring excuses for everybody. I mean, at some point, I do feel very sorry for Jay Carney.
Oh yeah, can you imagine? What a
you have to rely so much on booze because there's no other way that you can get up in the morning and know that you're lying your guts off, know that at least half of the country, if not more, thinks that you're a lying SOB. Apologies for the acronym. And just continue doing it the next day. I mean, he must be getting paid a crap ton of money to do this because I cannot think that one would be able to do what he does.
The scary thing is, I think he believes what he says.
Well, that is the
and
scariest.
And that's really scary. And
That
you
is
know,
an extremely
I
scary
look
part.
at I look at the stuff that the leftists say and do, and particularly this administration, and I think they really believe what they're saying and doing. Now, Hillary maybe not. I think she's a shrewd enough politician that she goes along with and perpetrates some of the lies because she thinks it'll get her, one step ahead. Um, I don't know that she's I don't know that she's all that stupid. I think she's just a liar. I think she's just dishonest. But I think Barack Obama is a true believer. I mean, I know that he's one of those. He will lie if it makes sense politically. But I think that some of the stuff like that Jay Carney says about how the memo wasn't about Benghazi, and it depends on what you mean, what the meaning of the word is. I think that some of the word games that those people play, I think they're sincere about some of that, and it's kind of scary.
And that's the
The way
scary
I
part.
see it, I
Definitely.
see Hillary's just a politician. I see Obama as a believer in their ideology.
Hmm.
He grew up with it. That's all he took in.
Yeah,
So if you're fed something enough time, that's all you know. That's all you're gonna regurgitate. So I
that's
do
true.
believe he's a believer in what he's trying to do. I don't think there's any ill game in what he's trying to do. I believe he actually believes what he's doing. Even if the results don't match up to what he believes, he's still gonna try it because he believes in his ideas.
And that is the scary part.
Yeah.
Believing in those ideas. It is extremely scary.
Well, because those ideas have been disproven over and over again. I mean, how can you still believe in this Marxist totalitarian philosophy that is responsible for 20, 30 million people dead?
It's been a lot more people than that. Ah,
It's not going to happen to us. That's the answer.
What?
Right?
Right? As long as it's not the ruling class that to which Obama belongs, then it's okay.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Exactly.
And then that means that he really is, because I've tried to square it, not that I'm trying to force the Israel conversation, because I don't know that I really want to divert and talk about Israel right now, but what has mystified me throughout this presidency is what I see as the genuine disdain for Israel and the siding with Palestine and the Palestinians on
Hmm.
everything.
Hmm.
And that seems so illogical to me. It seems so backwards and wrong. But I guess they really genuinely believe that Israel is wrong and doesn't have a right to. I mean, maybe they think Israel has a right to exist, but I don't get it. I don't get where they are with Israel and how they can continue to toe the line on what Palestine says and think that Hamas and Fatah are good things,
Of
or
course they.
or victims or whatever. And I just don't get that unless it's 50 years of hatred of Israel. I mean,
and I don't understand why they have such a hatred of Israel. What has Israel done to receive such hate?
But Israel is the root of all evil. Don't you know that?
How so? What have they done? Ah,
Well, ask all the fanatics that are out there. It is Israel is the root of all evil. As simple as that. I
well,
mean,
and
and
that's where I've never studied enough to really understand the Israel hatred out there, because there's a ton of it. But it's been so ridiculous and stupid and heinous to me. I've never tried to study the root cause of the Jew hatred, because then that gets to me trying to get inside the mind of the Germans during World War II, and I don't know. I don't even want to. I don't even want to try to figure out that.
I mean, I have a theory, but it's too. I can't back it up with facts, so it's just a theory.
What?
So when I get more information, then I will bring it back to the chat.
No,
To the
toss it,
table.
toss it out. Come on, come on.
Toss it out. Yeah, exactly.
One of
What's
my
up?
theories is
Don't be afraid.
they was one of the people to bring morality to the world. There was morality here and there, but for the history of mankind, it's not been like the U.S. The U.S. has been the exception to the rule. There's always been wars. There's always been conflict. There's always been fighting. The Jews was one of the people to change that a little. How like the U.S. has changed it because of the Constitution. We are different from everybody else. I don't have any
Also,
proof to back that up yet, but that is a theory that I'm
that's
working
your
on.
belief. First Amendment, buddy. You can say anything you want.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that
One
is
other
kind of an
thing,
interesting
it could
thought.
very well be a religion one. If you think about it, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. So,
Well,
boom.
it was the beginning of monotheism, and Judaism brought out a change in the relationship between man and his God.
Mm-hmm.
And because the God of Israel made a promise to the people, and that was
Mhm.
totally different. That was like a reverse of what other relationships between man and God were. In the other polytheistic religions, the gods were above everyone, and people were servants to their gods
Right.
and were
Mhm.
making sacrifices and supplicating to their gods to obtain good treatment from their gods. And the God of Israel made a commitment to us that he would give it, bless Israel with long life and success, and that if they believe in him and follow God's law, they could talk to him, they could know him, and that the relationship would be very much of a two-way relationship.
Right.
And that was kind of a fundamental change. And maybe
And I
that's
believe there are some people at some certain cultures, certain idea that's counter to that. And because they are counter to that, they want to destroy it. But that's just my theory.
that's
I,
that's an interesting thought.
so I have to do more research on it to back it up. So I'm
Yeah,
still
and
open mind on it.
well, and that's how theories work. You come out with, I wonder if this is why, and then you go research and study and try to figure out, and then you may come up with, oh, but well, it's sort of, but it's also this. So okay, you figure out why do people hate the Jews? I just don't understand because it's just never made any sense to me
No,
whatsoever. I mean,
I don't get it. I don't.
there aren't even
From a
that many
logical standpoint, I
Jews.
just don't get it.
There's just not that many of them. I mean, what's the deal? There's
Mhm.
no. Why bother hating them? There's so few of them. They can just let them live in peace. I mean, you can hate redheads. There's
You
far
have
more redheads that you can hate. I mean, that makes sense because
Ah,
we're
talks.
crazy and we steal souls and stuff.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Says the redhead of the company, right?
Yes, or hate Greeks because that's men wearing
Why not?
skirts. I just don't get it. Oh wait,
I hate them
in
too.
Scotland they wear kilts and those are cool. So okay, never mind.
I hate them too.
Yeah, but Greek men's skirts are all pleated and stuff, and that's kind of weird.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
positive time
Which
now?
Oh, is it positive time? Ugh.
which
I'm
reminded
trying to
me.
think what is positive about the news this week.
The only thing positive I was able to find was a picture of a baby otter on a scale, and he was like smiling. So it's like, here's a baby otter.
Well,
Well,
which
I guess
reminds
we
me
can
of.
say that that now that there's more outlets talking about Benghazi, that is a good thing.
Yeah, I really do. I really do think it's a good thing. I mean, Jay Carney has had two very, very rough press conferences 2 days in a row, and it's been ABC and Fox News and Cheryl Atkinson. Now that she's free of CBS, she's talking to everybody and publishing her stories about Benghazi, and I think we're getting more people interested. And I believe that John Boehner has finally asked for a special investigation, I think, now that we have this memo that like directly contradicts stuff, maybe.
You know what the funny thing is? Um, while I was listening to Mark Levin, he actually said something extremely interesting. There is a committee that was formed back in at the end of World War II, in the 50s, somewhere there. It's a special committee to investigate, right? It's in Congress right now. Uh, a Democrat leads that committee,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not even need the power to issue subpoenas. They do have it already. Basically, they're the bulldog
Oh,
of of the Senate, and that's its purpose to figure out what is going on with whatever, right? Um, why does John Boehner have to create a new special committee? Why
I
do
don't
we
know.
need to have another ICE special committee? There is one. Do your job. Oh, I forgot. Uh, they're Democrats by majority, so they're not gonna check it.
Well, not in
It's
the
exactly the
House.
same thing as
The Democrats have the majority in the Senate, but not in
true,
the House.
true, but true. But I'm proving a point by just giving you the other example that we have. Eric Holder has been held in contempt of court. Who is
Right.
going to enforce that? The Department of Justice.
Right,
Hmm.
and they're not going to, right,
Okay.
the DOJ isn't going to investigate the DOJ. Well, actually, they will, and they'll find that the
Exactly.
DOJ did nothing wrong. Yeah. We investigated ourselves and
Exactly.
found ourselves and found ourselves innocent.
Innocent of
Okay.
all wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm. Double plus good. But yeah, I do think maybe over the last 2 days, and the problem is I've thought this about Benghazi over the last 2 years multiple times that, okay, finally we're going to break through and we're going to get some real attention on this. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm thinking that again. I don't know if that's me being naive or optimistic. I know it's me being optimistic, but I'm beginning to think that maybe we're at a point in the Obama administration where it's 6 years in, people are trying to figure out their exit strategy from the Obama administration because they're realizing it's not always going to be Obama in charge. So people are trying to project and figure out, okay, what side of the fence do I want to be on 2 years from now? How do I make sure that I survive and I'm still a viable entity? And it might be that some of these media outlets are seeing, oh, well, okay, maybe actually we do need to regain a little bit of credibility, so maybe we should report on this story and investigate things a little bit. They
Hmm.
weren't going to do that 2 years ago because they still needed 4 years of Obama, but
Mm-hmm.
now it may be now that we're on the back end of the Obama era, they may be willing to entertain a few stories, and we might be able to break through a little bit because we've got so many Obama failures. I mean, he's underwater on every single measure, and Obamacare is a disaster, foreign policy is a disaster, the economy is a disaster. There's really there's really no way to, or no reason to not kind of throw the guy under the bus.
He's definitely losing support.
And so I'm wondering if maybe, I'm trying to find the happy thing is that maybe this Benghazi stuff is finally going to get some of the attention. Now, I mean, there's always going to be the stupid commenters that, that think we're talking about it's no big deal. So 4 people died, 3,000 people died in Iraq. Okay, whatever.
Wow, but isn't all life sacred? Shouldn't we be concerned, even if it is 4 people? Even if it was one person, shouldn't we still be concerned?
Well, not when they're babies. We don't care when they're preborn babies.
Ah!
Sorry.
Yeah.
I guess they don't believe in that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
No, unless it's their own
Well,
personal
some people
happiness
don't
or something.
believe in the life one.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Maybe
sad.
maybe it's our job to keep the Benghazi story alive and to keep focusing on what's important of it and the fact that yes, it is important that the administration lied
Right.
because that's cover up and that's wrong and it's and it is important that the president never bothered to go to the situation room during the 15 hours that we had an ambassador that was missing and we had a consulate under fire. We had an American consulate under fire, and he never went to the situation room.
What does that say about our leadership?
What the hell is wrong with that man? I mean, seriously. That's just messed up.
Pretty much.
Seriously messed up. And we've run
I
over
can't
by
think
10.
of another country that would do that.
Seriously.
Oh, there's plenty of countries that'll do this. Don't get me wrong. The U.S. doesn't have just the monopoly on this, but it's unprecedented for the U.S. At least to my knowledge. I've never heard. I mean, think about it. Everything that we see and we hear is nobody's left behind. That's one of the mottos of the
Right.
Army.
Right.
The armed forces, let me put it this way. I don't want to take away anything from the Marines or the other men, women in service in different divisions, but it's nobody's left behind. Okay, that's all we know. And sadly, what we have seen is 4 people were left behind intentionally. And again, I fear that it was done. I repeat myself. I fear that it was done because of political gain. I'm praying that I'm wrong on this.
But I'm
Because
still
you
I am
have
taking
too,
it off the table.
because that's just such a horrible thing to even conceive of, that people at the highest level of political power in this nation would behave in such a heinous way. You know what I mean? Because that's just evil. If they did at some point decide to ignore the thing and let them figure it out on their own because of their own political gain. I mean, that's just hateful. I mean, that's not even human. To abandon people intentionally for your own political gain. That's burn in hell stuff, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
You'll have a reckoning at some point, if that is in fact true, and I hope it's not. I hope they're just incompetent. And isn't it sad that my most fervent hope is that they're incompetent rather than evil? Kind of sad.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But our response to this Benghazi thing, hey, have we even arrested anyone who's responsible for it? No. Are we actually investigating or chasing down? No. We are doing nothing. Our response to Benghazi afterwards has been nothing. Do you wonder why
pretty much
Vladimir Putin laughs at us? How can you take us seriously in anything? China doesn't consider us serious. Israel doesn't consider us any kind of ally. They know they don't have a partner for peace in us. We're not on their side, and even if we were on their side, what good are we? At this point, I'd rather fight with France. And France always surrenders. Hell, but at least they show up before they surrender and probably bring us some wine and cheese. America just
the wine is good.
Right?
Yeah. Wine is good.
Maybe
it's a plus.
Maybe get the Belgian army and then bring the chocolates or something. I don't know. Seriously.
The chocolates.
Belgian chocolates.
You're
right?
such a girl.
I
You're
like
such a
chocolate.
girl.
I like
Chocolate.
chocolate. I like
Yum.
chocolate. Oh, that's the other good thing. I have Bluebell Tin Roof ice cream in my freezer.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Are y'all familiar with Bluebell ice cream?
Yes, I am.
Nope.
I personally prefer Mayfield, but
I don't know, but I don't know that I've ever had Mayfield.
oh
Is that a local one
wow.
for you? Bluebell is the best ice cream in the country. It's made at the Little Creamery in Brenham with very happy cows. And they have certain
Very
flavors that
interesting.
only come out at different they have flavors that only come out at particular times of year. And
Oh, that would drive me crazy.
Tin Roof is one of my favorite flavors. And I saw it at the grocery store yesterday. Made my day.
Awesome.
Not that I
Yeah, we
need it.
have Bluebell here, but yeah, I'm still a Mayfield guy. I love Turtle Tracks.
Turtle Tracks.
Yes.
Because that's got some caramel in it and peanuts and chocolate.
Yes. Yes. I love it. And a friend of
Yeah.
mine showed me that you can mix it with Pop Tarts. I'm good.
With Pop Tarts?
Yes.
What flavor Pop Tarts?
Strawberry.
Oh Lord.
Ooh.
Uh,
Strawberry frosted, of course.
yes, ma'am. You know
Because,
it.
unfrosted Pop Tarts, what is the point? Pop Tart and Pop Tart unless it has frosting on it.
Right.
And the cinnamon brown sugar ones are good, but I really do. Maybe it's because I'm getting a more mature palate. Because when I was young, I would only eat the brown sugar cinnamon ones.
But
But
of course.
now that I've grown up a little bit, I like the blueberry and the strawberry ones.
Yep, those are the two I eat.
Well, at my grocery store, they have the variety pack where you could get you get 12 Pop Tarts, and some of them are strawberry, some of them are blueberry, and some of them are cherry. It's like the fruit variety pack. Pretty
I used to
awesome.
get those, but my niece and nephews just go through those.
Oh. Well, and why do they package Pop Tarts two in a foil pack, and yet they say that the serving size is one?
Ah!
Because do you ever eat just one, Antonio?
No.
This is just
I eat two.
such a demonstration of first world problems.
Totally.
Oh
Totally.
my God.
Well, if you only
Totally,
wanted me
yeah.
to eat one Pop Tart, then put them in individual packages.
But of
Because if you make
course.
me open a package and I've got now two open, I'm clearly going to understand that I'm supposed to eat both of them.
Right.
And I will,
It's self-evident.
because I follow the instructions. You open the package and there's two, so there's two Pop Tarts per serving. Right?
And I keep some in my car for emergency.
As one does. Emergency. Oh my God. You
Yep,
guys
that's my
are
water
something.
bottle.
I've got water and Pop Tarts. I'm good, man. I'm good.
Oh, you gotta be prepared.
You're such a
Yeah,
jerk.
what do you have in your glove compartment for emergency food, Nikos?
An extra clip.
Bullets, so you can go out and kill a deer or something. Awesome. Rather than
No,
Pop Tart.
I just stop at the gas station and get something. I don't have stuff. I usually don't eat that much, so I'm good.
And if,
You know,
if Tia's
every
around, I'm
morning.
sure she has Cheerios always. When you have
Oh,
children, you
Tia's
always
got
have
everything.
Cheerios.
I haven't had Cheerios in
Oh
a
my God,
long
she's
time.
got everything. Hey, you know what the best part is? Sometimes she would just take my car to go my car, the small car, not the minivan. Let me put it this way. Um, to just go, and do stuff. She might just want to leave a little bit. And then all of a sudden, I would just get into the car the next day and I see, coffee here, another wrapper there. Okay. That didn't work very well.
A couple of Cheerios under the seat, and 6 months from now, there's like a French fry wedged between the door and the chair.
No. That's not in the Dart. That's in the minivan. The minivan has tons of things in it.
Kool-Aid stains on the carpet. Yeah.
No, not yet Kool-Aid. We're not there yet. But I don't know. We'll probably get to that point.
How old
at
is
some point.
Dimos? He doesn't do Kool-Aid yet?
No, he's 5.5.
And he doesn't do Kool-Aid?
No, not yet.
Really?
I don't know why, but
It's weird. Because when I was 5, I was totally into high C orange drink. Totally.
okay.
Which was
I always
like
been
Kool-Aid.
I always drunk water. Either everybody around me was drinking Kool-Aid or drunk water.
You're such a
Believe it or
healthy
not,
kid.
I've never tried Kool-Aid. I don't even know how it tastes.
It tastes like artificial fruit flavor and sugar.
Oh, okay.
It depends on who makes it. Certain people can make it the way it's just right. Sometimes it's too sweet. Sometimes it's just like you're just drinking sugar. It just
Yeah.
that's not right.
Yeah, you have to go with a little bit less sugar than the recipe calls for, but not too much less because then it's just like yuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Since we went way off topic, and somebody was accusing me of going off topic at the beginning of this podcast.
Which you
His
did.
name, I'm not gonna say anything, but his name starts with A and ends with Antonio.
Well, he
Um,
said it, I thought it, because you were like way afield. I was like, foreign policy, and then, whoa, what the hell?
No,
But
I
that's okay,
wasn't
that's
off
the way life
field.
goes.
I actually had a logical connection, and had
Yes, you
you
did.
let me finish my statement, I would have elaborated more. So
You're
since we're,
expecting us to be patient and tolerant and stuff. Do you know me? Do you know me?
but what would I expect from you conservatives?
Exactly. We're intolerant kind of
All
people.
right,
So are you
so
saying we need to wrap up the show?
we need to wrap up the show, but and I'll leave you two guys to close. My closing statement, since we have all this relativity and relation towards what we're talking, I'm gonna quote. It has something to do with Greece, right? I'm gonna quote my very much admired gentleman Alfred Charles Sharpton Jr. All right?
Al Sharpton.
Uh, Keene College, 1994. White folks was in caves while we were building empires. We taught philosophy and astrology and mathematics before Socrates and those Greek homos ever got around to it. Political correctness. Have a nice evening, all.
Okay. That was your love note from the Reverend Al. Awesome. Okay, so Antonio, do some research on why people hate the Jews. Figure that out, and I will go have ice cream.
Okay, Mr. Robert Underwood put me on the right path. Well, put me on the path I'm gonna go down.
My job is to go have ice cream. So that will conclude our show. Thank you, everybody, for joining CU Talks, the voice of the Conservative Union. You will be able to find this podcast on our website, conservativeunion.net. Also, we'll be on iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. And then next week, join us. Let's see, next week, is that going to be a live one? No, not yet. Well, I mean
No,
live,
we got it on
but
Tuesday, maybe.
it's not going to be a hangout. It's still going to be a podcast. So next week, next Thursday, 9 o'clock Central, and we'll talk about probably something other than Pop-Tarts. Bye.